right. Thank you guys so much for being here. And as usual, I'll give you a few updates of some things that we've got going on. And then again, happy to take some of your questions. First, I know we were able to discuss the fire over off of Bayou Chico last week. And I've got Chief Craner here to, if you have any questions about that, where we are with it, then Chief Craner's happy to come up and answer what she can for you. But a few different things. First, we're going to talk about recycling. You may have seen in your email about an hour ago, we were able to kind of formally give you not only the nothing's changed in terms of the date, the October 1st date, but I think over these last few weeks, the conversation that's been helpful for us, emails that we get, questions, concerns about, as I always say, a change in behavior causes raised anxiety. So we think this is a good thing for the city. It's a net zero cost to the, and you see EC Ways proposing a 9.5% increase to be able to keep their recycling program, which is another way to do it. This would be a cost neutral change to go to twice a week. But what we've provided you guys and is on our website, cityofpensacola.com/recycling info, is a little bit more in depth, and because we've received some pretty common questions. One is, what about trying an education campaign? And as I always say, unfortunately, that kind of proves the point, because we've done several education campaigns over the years to try to lower contamination, which have all been unsuccessful. That's one. And the reality is, I've been telling folks who've asked me about it, I really do think that this would be an interesting sociology experiment for someone, in the fact that I totally understand some of the anxiety is that for many years, whether somebody's emptied every drop of syrup out of their syrup bottle or have folded and broken down their cardboard boxes, all that time and effort and energy to do something good for the environment and good for our community, and then to say that we're not going to do it anymore is a drastic change. So I sympathize with that. But on the other side of the curtain, what we know, and it puts us in the situation as the bearer of bad news, what we know is that if it gets to the recycling center, the market has collapsed for these recyclables, and very, very little of what we have 50% contamination, and then of the 50 that isn't, very little of that is actually getting to be recycled because of the markets, things that are out of our control and out of EC Ways control. So the reality is we are going to find a better way, whether that's select materials, whether that's an assisted drop-off site, whether that's an opt-in for a fee, an opt-in where those people are now financially motivated to lower contamination, not just have a second garbage can. We're going to find another option. So, that's the most important point here is we're not just going away from recycling and walking away from this. We are urgently looking for an alternative. We have had questions. The Summit Boulevard drop-off location, it's unassisted, of course. That will remain at this point. So there is at least one avenue to do that. To be honest with you, the contamination at that location is as bad or worse than it is at the curb because it's unassisted. People can drop off anything they want there, mattresses, furniture, all things that can't be recycled. So that is not a viable long-term solution for us either. But that to inform everybody, if you are wanting to put forth all of that effort, there is a place that will continue to be available for drop-off in the meantime. So more to come. The change will happen October 1st. And again, we will be going to twice a week pickup. So twice a week garbage pickup, which will be you'll be on either a Monday, Thursday, or a Tuesday, Friday schedule moving forward. So more to come on that. We'll be sending postcards out to all of our citizens through the bills, all that. So that's why we're talking about this now, well in advance, is to try to make sure that this information gets out to the consumers over these next 4 or 5 weeks. So certainly appreciate you guys sharing that information and as much as you can explain, some of the myth busting that we've put on our website that kind of explains some of the most frequent questions we've received. You have a letter in front of you, I believe, is just distributed, a letter that's signed by myself and Wes Moreno, the Escambia County administrator, and about we're encouraged that Opening Doors is looking to add a governmental board, and so we're not exactly sure what the selection process is going to be for that, or who's in charge of that. There's still a little bit of unknowns, but we are encouraged, and you guys remember Dr. Savage coming in and talking about trying to make some improvements to our current COC and how it operates. So we didn't want to sit back and not play an active role and be an active partner with the COC as it tries to make improvements. So we've sent a letter that I know John Johnson has received that has some names on there that are recommended. Since this will be a governmental board, that's not just city and county, that's other key players, key organizations in reducing homelessness in our community. So certainly at the end of the day, I imagine that a lot of the decision making will rest with Opening Doors and their board. But we didn't want to, again, sit silent and not try to be active and helpful as they start to ask for more governmental impact and voice within what they do with the COC. So that letter was sent earlier this week. I believe I think it was either Monday or Friday. Excuse me. But I know that Opening Doors has received it, and so we're giving that to you now. Also, we are announcing we've got the peninsula across from Bayou Tahar over the trestle. It's not for pedestrian. There's no pedestrian access over there. It's been designated as a dredge spoil site. So that means there won't be anybody allowed to go over there. And we're going to be working through getting the proper security over on that side. And so we'll be maintaining that for the foreseeable future as a dredge spoil site. And I believe the project bid opening is on September 18th, and then we'll get signage and some fencing and all that throughout the rest of this year, hopefully into late next year. Fire Station 4 update. Again, if you have questions for Chief Craner, certainly she can expand on it, but the mold remediation is complete at Fire Station 4, and we're kind of in that move back in process, and the goal is to have all of our team back in Station 4 by September, at some point in September. So good news there, and that moved actually a little bit faster, I think, even than we expected. So great news to not have Station 4 displaced and back and have everybody there back home. Just quick reminder on the Haas resident satisfaction survey. uwf.edu/Haas HAAS resident survey, or you can call 850-495-2666 Monday through Friday from 8 to 5 p.m. and the deadline is September 15th. So that is all I have, and as I said, if you have any questions, Chief Craner is available on the fire side or anything else that you may have. Yeah.
Start with Chief Craner and get her going.
Sure.
This morning. The Pensacola Fire Department moved quickly the other night, late at night, to suppress and put out the fire with Southern Recycling. I happened to be over in that area at that time, and the question I've got, Chief, is the potentially toxic plume of smoke that was coming from the north across the Tan Yard and the Sanders Beach area, and what is the process to evaluate the human health hazard to a recyclable fire that you know has got toxic material in it, not only to your firefighters but to the public residents? I talked to Escambia Emergency Operations Center, and they said that it was Pensacola Fire Department's responsibility to evaluate and notify them if they needed any sort of shelter-in-place announcement or something like that. Could you walk us through the process for a toxic smoke from a toxic fire like that?
I can. Thank you for the question, John. So first of all, when the fire was dispatched, it was dispatched as a trash fire, and everybody saw that it was quite a bit more than that. What was the first opportunity we have is to identify that there's no life safety hazards, nobody in the area, and of course any kind of smoke in its direction is evaluated immediately. And what the first part is to determine what's burning. So what was burning at that fire were tires, shredded and compressed metal. Some of that metal is combustible metal, which reacts violently with water, which is a disadvantage, which created a lot of that smoke. The wind direction was headed straight toward the bayou and up into the air. So based on the wind direction and the materials burning, it was determined that we needed to apply water. We used an estimated 1.5 million gallons of water and 190 gallons of a biodegradable surfactant that assisted in soaking that water into those burning materials. So that was determined as the best strategy based on the smoke being released and the wind direction. That's the first thing that we look at. And then our fireboat is cross-staffed, which means Engine Company 4, who happened to be the first due company, fire engine company, from Station 4, they have the helmsman to be on the fireboat. And so they're the first company on scene. We have to assemble enough resources, identify what our immediate hazards are with incident stabilization. And there were oil tanks about 40 feet from where that raging fire was going. So our firefighters made some very quick decisions with life safety, including theirs, and with the community to, as soon as we got enough crews on scene, to release some of those crews to get the fireboat and bring it out there. So the fireboat assisted with supplying water, not only just from the fireboat, there were some limits with access because of a large barge that was in the area, but also with supplying water to our engine company. We had lightning issues, so we had an aerial apparatus that was up that is best staffed with crews in the bucket that we had to lower because of lightning at some point. So there were several challenges with ultimate extinguishment, but the stabilization of the incident happened very quickly, and I can't say enough about our firefighters for the rapid work, the dangerous work. Our firefighter that was injured fell 13 feet from a seawall into the water, and just by grace and a little bit of luck is doing okay. So I can't thank them enough for the hard work that they did.
Do you, as part of your response, do you deploy air monitors, air quality monitors?
We do have air monitors, and to also address an additional question, as part of that incident stabilization priority that we have, we are looking at what exposures are nearby, like the fuel tanks I described, but additionally, the bayou is an exposure for us. So immediately we called the Coast Guard. We talked about the materials that we had. FDEP was contacted immediately through our county warning point. So we did evaluate some of those priorities and chose the best fire attack based on those. We do have air monitoring systems that are for gas monitors and are not anything in this open air environment that would be something we would make life safety determinations on. And if there were any need based on the materials burning to do any kind of shelter in place, we certainly would have communicated that. There was no need for that in this situation based on the wind direction. I know that it was noticed certainly and could be smelled in some areas, but the volume of the material that was burning was not evaluated to be a risk to anyone in their homes at that time.
That neighborhood over there has 3 chemical plants over there, and with the prevailing wind like it is, do you drill an industrial hazardous material fire? I mean, you know, what goes through Chief Craner's mind when she hears an alarm from that neighborhood over there?
I'm certainly first concerned about the people. And Engine Company 4 is that crew that's over there, and we lovingly term them the powder keg because of the facilities that we have in that area. But I have to tell you, we have such a great partnership with them and their safety teams. Our crews are always training with them. We're always looking at the materials that they have and the types of tactics and extinguishing agents we need to use to respond. So I feel very comfortable with the facilities, their safety abilities, and our firefighters' ability to respond.
Thanks, Chief.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Chief. What else you got?
On the continuum of care,
Yeah.
What do you hope to gain, or maybe not necessarily gain, but the changes in governance? What would you like to see happen?
Well, I think, again, Dr. Savage, who runs interdepartmental agency on homelessness over 18 different departments of the federal government, says that there should be some modifications to how the COC and the relationship of that operates. I'm listening to those, and so I think we want to find what the best solution is to make sure that we can maximize the impact of the COC. So that it's not just critiquing from the sideline. I think that happens a lot. I think what we can do, hopefully, is help us play an active role, and that doesn't have to be the mayor or a particular person, but if the city and the county, and we can all put our heads together about what. There are a lot of people that have been working at this for years and years, that know much more about it than I do and have been doing it for a lot longer than I have, that can provide some good ideas and solutions to any COC. I don't care where it is. We've got some smart people around here that know how to help and are willing to be helpful. And so, again, I'm appreciative that the COC is listening to that, listening to the advice of Dr. Savage. And what I hope is putting all of that knowledge and all of that ability to get things done at the table only improves the impact and the power of this COC, and that we can start, punching at our weight class in terms of the dollars that we have coming in to help reduce homelessness and all of those kinds of things. So we can have a better effort on point-in-time counts. All those things that the COC is responsible for. It's not to, again, comment from the sideline. How do we all put our arms around this? And so the fact that they've been willing to crack that door open a little bit and allow some government to be involved in some of the potential decision making at the COC, I think that's a great thing for the COC, and I think it's a great thing for the community.
Do you see this becoming, the new governance board being something that will be the answer to what you've been talking about, being more collaborative with the county? Is that part of that answer? Yeah,
I think so. Look, I think anytime, again, you can get smart thought leaders in a particular area at the table, why would we shut that out? Why not have that? What I can guarantee you is whoever's in that room that's going to be on a governance board, that they all are very, very aligned in what we want here, which is we want solutions to help reduce homelessness. So there isn't single desired outcomes that I think are going to be outliers to everyone else that's in that room. That's what we all want, and you won't find anybody who's willing to be giving of their time, effort, and energy to help this issue, which is a very complex one, as we all know. That wouldn't have the same aligned vision to make this the strongest COC we can, to make it the strongest, give the community the strongest ability to reduce homelessness. I mean, I think that's what it really comes down to. So what that looks like, I don't know. The city and county, we've had conversations about many things, and over the last several weeks, had a couple meetings in the last week or so on a variety of different issues, and this is one that again we share the same thought that we know it's a need. We both have $1.1 million on our side, $4 million on the county side that's going to be invested in this effort. Let's do everything that we can to make sure that those dollars are used wisely.
I got one follow-up question.
Go ahead.
Then I'll let everybody. We had the lodges, all that we were shocked with that last week. Were those some of the conversations about that you've been having concerning the lodges, and what's some of that?
Yeah, so not necessarily. We haven't really had much of a conversation about the lodges, Wes and myself, or anyone at the county. I was asked about it in the council meeting, and look, we're looking at it, we're analyzing it. I appreciate the county. Certainly, they're going to jump in and invest and try to keep that going for a little while. But as I said, I jointly have a concern that that's the first time we're hearing of it. And that doesn't mean that it isn't a legitimate need. By the way, I'm not assuming that. But when you only hear about the need 2 weeks before the need it expires, it opens other questions about, well, if we are going to continue to invest in this, are those dollars going to be used wisely? So I think we have some analysis to do on our side about what's next and if the city is going to use some of its funding to help continue that, which I'm not saying we're against, but we're going to want to have some clarity on how that money is going to be used. And I think that's the fair thing to do for the taxpayer. We all agree that women and children that are unhoused need opportunity to be housed. That's not even up for discussion. What we're saying is how do we prolong and continue to have that as an asset because what I can tell you is throwing money at something where we find ourselves in the same place in 2 or 3 months doesn't help the issue. That doesn't get us anywhere. Unless all 45, 50 people that are there now are going to find housing in the next 90 days, then we're going to find ourselves right back in the same situation that we're in before. So again, I am open-minded to helping there, but we need some more questions answered about the longevity and what the real support is moving forward.
On the recycling
Yeah.
efforts, I know that you said, we're looking for alternatives. We don't want to get away from it completely.
Yeah.
What are we doing with the recycling containers that everyone has? We want money going in.
Yeah, that's a good question. If you want a recycling can, we got 21,000 available. It might be on Facebook Marketplace, but we're going to our vendors, and we're going to see if there's some options to get some funding back for those. We obviously have some uses, of course, whether it be events downtown, parade, there's a lot of different circumstances, not to the volume of 21,000. So we're going to talk with our vendors and potentially other municipalities. Those are, I don't remember the price on a brown can. I know a black can is about $64 is what it costs. So you can do the math on. I would think the brown ones are a little less expensive, but so there's some significant dollars in that. And look, I think there's an opportunity for us to generate some funds to modernize the equipment that we have at sanitation. So we definitely have some need there. So we're going to try to be smart about that and again, treat sanitation like the business operation it is, and say if there's some dollars that we can get back for those cans, we'll try to maximize those. In the meantime, we're working on that pretty diligently here in the next month, because obviously we're going to have to come pick those cans up, and we're going to have to do something with them. But we're having conversations amongst sanitation, city administration right now, and have been, about what the best option is moving forward for the citizen, for sanitation.
And then a couple other questions
Sure.
that you didn't really mention. Are there any new developments? We know there was possible talk of micro skate parks for outlying city parks. Are there any other serious discussions on those at all?
Yeah, I know the city had entered into some more tangible conversation about it in 2019. I'm not as familiar with that. But I told John Chell I'm very open-minded about how we figure that out. What I'd like to see, it's a little bit like the lodges conversation, honestly. What I'd like to see is who are our partners within that, and not so much that the city shouldn't have a financial obligation. We build a lot of parks and a lot of playgrounds. That's okay. But I like the sense of ownership, and one really good thing that's happened out of the skate park, I think, the big one so far, is, you go there, drive by at 6:30 in the morning, and you've got, the older generation of skaters bringing out their blower and, blowing off the sand and the leads and whatever from the night before. There's that sense of ownership that it's important. It's a conversation that's been around a long time. So I'd like to see that with skate spots as well, is which neighborhood associations, which private companies that care about the community, that want to be involved. So it's just as much really a symbolic partnership as more than it really is financial. So I would definitely entertain skate spots and the city being invested in those. But what would make me excited, even more excited about putting those in, would be that neighborhood and community partnership that says this is important to us. Don't just pick a park randomly. This is important to us to put it here. And so I'd love to engage in some of those conversations as we move forward. But I think those would be great amenities, and I know there's been a lot of success with those around the country.
And then last thing for me, we know it's still in litigation, the Confederate monument that was removed. The last we heard, it was in a warehouse somewhere, and then we were just possible future for that. Were there any new updates on that?
No, it is. Yeah, obviously it's in litigation right now, so nothing I can really comment on, and to be honest, know very much about as we sit here today. So we'll see how the court proceeding. I know it's active right now. That's the one update I do have, but at this point, no update from us on that.
When was this letter sent? It's not done with a date on it.
I can get that for you. It's either Friday. It was either Friday or Monday. We were just, obviously, since it's a joint letter, we were sharing it back and forth between city and county staff before it got sent. So we can confirm that for you.
Have you heard back yet?
We did get an email. We emailed it and mailed it, and we got an email back from Open Door saying that they thank you that they have received it. So that's the only comment to this point.
Mayor, you got any early returns from your parking consultant you can share with us?
Well, it is early, but we nothing of any substance. I will continue to get updates about every other week as they get off the ground. We've gotten clear outline on deliverables, all those kinds of things, what the expectations are, and really I would say right now focused on getting professional eyes looking at what the city has existing right now, and I don't know that we can say for sure that a parking expert's ever looked at which spaces we're charging for, what we're charging, all those kinds of things. I think we've done our best and something that migrated over from DIB. So I'm really looking forward to someone who has done this for a living looking at this and saying, why not charge more here? Why not? Why charge at these spaces at all, et cetera? So I think that'll probably be the first tangible update that we'll have. So we'll start to get some analysis of what's working well, what are opportunities for improvement.
On the Bayou Tahar dredge spoil site, is there an active project that you're going to be using that for?
Yeah, September 18th, I believe, is when the bid goes out. There's a dredging project. I believe it's September 18th. Amy, you want to? Yeah. Amy Tootle from Public Works can come give you whatever answers you need.
Sure. This project that's out for bid and solicitation right now is a stormwater outfall dredging project. So we've had many outfalls along Bayou Tahar that have a lot of sediment that have come through our storm sewer pipes and out into the bayou, causing buildup. And so this particular project is just trying to dredge along the stormwater outfalls. So the solicitation is out now. It will be open. The bids will open in September, and then shortly thereafter, if we have a winning low bidder, then we'll get that project under a contract. And the spoils from the dredging will go back onto this peninsula. That's where a lot of it will be disposed of.
Did you say a outfall or all the outfalls?
There's multiple. We have
Right.
I want to say 5 or 6 that are our base bid, and then we have some alternate bids as well for some other locations.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I guess just a follow-up, just in general, that spot out there is a kind of been used over the years as a homeless encampment. And I know the city's struggled to try to keep people off that. Does that bring up any issues as far as using this as a spoil site?
Well, what I can't speak to. What I can speak to is anybody being over there, and what I can tell you is there's no pedestrian access over there. So anybody that's over there, regardless of whether they're housed or unhoused, it already is prohibited. But now even more from an environmental standpoint of what's being dredged and being put there. So it'll have that designation. So as I said, certainly it's not whether homeless people can be there or housed people can be there. It's the fact that the only way that you can get over there on foot is to go on the train tracks, which is illegal. So that it's really it doesn't change really the status of that peninsula as it stands. There's just going to be some more formality, some more signage to it because it's being used as an environmental dredge spoil site.
Mayor, you mentioned a couple months ago you were going to reanalyze the hashtag corridor there. Are you getting any feedback, any early results back from that? What are you learning from that?
Yeah, we have. Actually, probably next week have Amy. We can come speak to. We were able to get our feedback from Scape. Remember, that was what the conversation was. Is that so many years and iterations in value engineering had happened over, again, 4 or 5 years of time that we wanted to make sure that the original intent of the project, what could be done, still could. Now, what I do remember from some of that feedback, and we can get you a more robust update next week, but from some of that feedback is there are some things that were proposed originally in hashtag that just can't be done, whether it's because of cost of the utilities underground and who knows what's under there over centuries of time. So there are certainly some things that we've learned through these last 4 or 5 years that when you look at the original project and you look at the direction that we would end up going, that won't be reversed back to the original state. But we were able to get a lot of great feedback, I know, from Scape on maybe some things that we could tweak and some things that they understandably acknowledged that we couldn't. And so that's exactly what the desired outcome was, is to say, hey, here are the original authors who had taken hundreds of people's community feedback and all of those things and had really were the authors of that original hashtag plan, just really getting a sign off from them and making sure that this still meets the intent and that there wasn't some missed opportunity that got lost in the shuffle through 4 or 5 years and a lot of different iterations. So what I can tell you right now is we feel good about the feedback that we got from them, and that'll allow us to proceed forward.
Mayor, on the Baptist property, moving vans will be pulling up soon. Any conversation about what's going to be there? We know the conversation about affordable housing, but what's going to happen to healthcare in that neighborhood and as a whole? What's their
What's
strategy
next?
for the
Yeah.
property?
So we've now had 2 meetings in the last 30 days with leadership at Baptist about exactly that question, what's next? What we're working on right now is some clarity as it pertains to how we can help with the potential demolition of the building, whether that through state, federal resources. There's a lot of moving parts to this. They have had a lot of interest in people looking at opportunities to repurpose buildings. There's also a lot of difficulty to that. The original hospital, I believe, was built in 1951, and so every time there was an expansion at Baptist, I think they would tell you that there was a lot of issues and complexity even for them to add to their own campus from an environmental standpoint. So, we have a general idea of what we think the price. We think it'd be about a $17 million demo. And with other infrastructure, we're looking at ballpark right now about a $20 million lift. And so we're having meetings with them about setting clear expectations of what the city is willing to go do, and certainly what the expectations of Baptist would be moving forward. And again, it's something that you look at a lot of property on that campus, and you say, you look at it as an asset, and then you realize there's also a major liability on that. But we're not going to, again, sit idly by and comment. I think this has the potential, Rick, as you know, not only for generational opportunity of what could happen at that place, but it's leaving a neighborhood, and what are now the gaps in that neighborhood that we can help fill. And so I think the city should play. The city's not trying to be in the development business, but I do think that amount of acreage in the heart of our city, really as close to some of the most underserved parts of our city, it would be foolish of us to not play an active role in that. And so we are. And so we're doing some due diligence right now through our economic development office, trying to learn as much as we can about what this ask is. We certainly don't want to get too far down the road or obligate ourselves or promise anything to Baptist or anyone else in any way that we can't live up to. So we've got a lot of work to do. So that's where I would say it is right now. Is Baptist is sharing some information with us, and we want to learn as much as we can before I'm driving over to Tallahassee or flying to Washington, D.C. as much as I can to try to help, have a good soft landing for what happens at the Legacy campus. So, but I could say the conversations are positive right now. We are hand in hand and wanting solutions here. As far I know that I'll let Baptist speak to what their specific security plan is for the building as they move forward. Obviously, this building will not be demoed by the time they leave. That's abundantly clear. But they have put some thought into that and some plans, and again, I don't want to speak to those or misspeak to those. So, but that obviously does give us a sense of comfort as well, as to make sure that that's being thought of before we're leaving, and they are being good community partners, I believe, in that sense that they know that this could be an issue for us. And they're keeping eyes on that. So more to come, but I would say in the next 30, 45 days or so, we should have some pretty clear understanding between Baptist and the city about what our lift is going to be and what our expectations of Baptist will be.
Mayor, you just said that you were looking for a little bit more clarity on what the ask is.
Mm-hmm.
What is the ask?
It's a good question. So we're looking for clarity. I think ultimately what we're looking at is us being able to go get some grant dollars to help with this,
Help with the demo?
with help with this liability. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm hesitant to say demo automatically because look, if someone does come along, and there's a lot of different buildings. We think of the main building and the towers, right? There's on their campus. There's other buildings that you may repurpose. That not every single thing would have to be demoed. So is the demo 17 million or is it 12 million because you save a 4-story building on Marino? So that when I say it's complex, that's not my vague way of not answering the question. It truly is. We know that the top dollar demo ticket is about 17 million, and even that hasn't been drilled down. We don't want to RFP something like that yet and then not be ready to do it for multiple years. A lot of time and money goes into RFPing something with these contractors. We don't want to be sending empty promise RFPs out just to get the exact number either. So there's a lot of things to navigate here in terms of what we are going to do. But my expectation would be our partnership and our blood, sweat, and tears to help get whatever funding is needed to help demo would be the acquisition of the property. So what that looks like, and of course with the idea of being able to again do something, repurpose and have and create some generational opportunity for our city. So that's where I would say in a general sense we're in agreement. Baptist and ourselves are in agreement on that. How the details of that, I'll give another complexity to it. Of course, is the PACES, the 2 PACES projects are being proposed at Baptist right now. We just approved in the council last week the 9% tax credit, our $460,000 contribution to that project, which would be great, right? I mean, why would we want to get all of this property? We would want to turn around and put affordable housing there. So if that's something that can happen sooner and this project go through, but that also would affect some kind of MOU that we'd have with Baptist. So there are a lot of moving parts to this, and that's why it's taking, it's going to take a little bit of time, and why we're doing our due diligence. Because when I come to you guys and say, here's our MOU, I want the city to be able to fulfill its obligation or what we say we're going to do. So we're working through that, and again, we'll have some more clarity on that in the coming weeks. Anything else? All right. Thank you guys so much.